Yeah.
Here in Norway, will pay for international students. Like you don't have to pay for anything. You just have to go to school in Norway. Just throw money out there.
Do I speak Norwegian or English?
For real, right?
I'm gonna do it.
So, my chapter was chapter 29, the economics of the Big Mac. Okay, so around this section of chapters, it's been talking about globalization, which is like the spreading of business and technology and different thoughts around the world. And when we're spreading this, we're trying to, as we spread it, we're trying to make comparisons between the countries as we sort of look into what different ones are doing. So, comparisons of wages are difficult to make though, because we can't just change, like, convert currencies, because then they're mostly true, like, the United States wages are better than, say, wages in India, but we can't just convert currencies because then we don't take into account the standard of living over there and the cost the people have to pay for different things. So the Big Mac Index was created because there are McDonald's restaurants around the world in 120 countries, I think. And like the entry-level position at McDonald's around the world, they don't really have like a different experience level. Everyone basically needs the same amount of experience to work at McDonald's. So you can make it even around the world, and the Big Mac is relatively, let me slow down. Going too fast. The Big Mac is relatively the same around the world, except for, some places where they don't have beef. And so you can use that as a purchasing power parity, which is a type of adjusted foreign exchange rate. Took me a while to learn that. So they sort of use the number of Big Macs that an employee there can buy per hour to sort of account for the cost of living in a certain place. So in some places, like the United States, a person who works at McDonald's, in the things that I was given, they sort of make $6 an hour, and then they could buy like a couple Big Macs per hour. But in a different country, you can buy as many.
Correct. Can you show us the example? How do we calculate that?
So
Just give some example. For example, I'll give you this example. In China, the Big Mac cost, I really do not know exactly, but I just guess 30 yuan. 30 yuan.
30. Oh, this is China.
Yeah, 30 yuan.
That's not big.
Y-U-A-N. 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 Yeah, so that's the price of Big Mac, okay? And the hourly wage for the worker that employed there, my guess would be, let's say, 20 yuan per hour.
Okay. So you divide. Oh,
Go right ahead. I think you know about which one divide by which one.
oh, let me think of it first, because I read exactly this.
which is the price of Big Mac? 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
No, it was the other.
the other way, the other way.
So they could buy 2/3 of the Big Mac per
Yeah, so
hour.
our work, and can give them 2/3 of Mac, Big Mac.
Okay.
So this way, we don't have to worry about the exchange rate anymore. And in the United States and Canada, Japan,
Yeah.
Western Europe, it's about 2-3 max per hour. So it's hourly wage can afford 2-3 max, right?
And that's called a purchasing power parity?
Yeah,
That's-
adjustment, purchasing power parity adjustment.
Try different ones. Okay. In the first article I read, this one I like the most because it was easier to understand. They did this with 27 countries. Yeah. They did this with 27 countries, basically for 4 different reasons. Because there is a concept known as factor price equalization. And I looked up what this meant because at first I didn't understand it. And basically it stated that as globalization is happening, things are supposed to even out across the board in all the countries. We should be able to make everything even. And this was trying to figure out whether this was true. Like, we were trying to figure out, because globalization is happening, y'all know what's happening. We're trading between the countries. Is everything evening out? Not right now, but it's closer than we thought it was when we didn't have this purchasing power parity involved in collecting the data. And it is also useful when coming up with reforms for different countries, because sometimes you think something is going to work and then you figure out the numbers didn't really work out that well. The other article was about the euro. This one I felt was a very complicated article because, well, as it stated, the euro, the physical euro, was adopted in 2002, and everyone was very excited about it because then they felt like they'd be able to travel from country to country, they wouldn't have to exchange currency, and then business would be able to grow and be able to trade with other countries, and it would just be great. But then the prices of things started to increase, and everyone was upset. So they used the Big Mac index to find out if inflation really was increasing or if everyone was just freaking out for no reason. Oh, and inflation was increasing, just so you know, in case you didn't read the rest. And, yep. Any comments you would like to add? Anything you learned interesting in this chapter, in these articles, that you would like to bring to the attention of the class? Yes.
Well, I did think it was interesting, like, how China is, like, for an hour you work, you can only get about 2/3, like, one, like, burger. while here you could get 2 or 3, but so there's a difference in currency and the amount that you make, but also the standard of living is so much different in these countries. And so when you live in America, you have this idea that, you know, the standards of living are pretty similar, I guess, all around, but in reality, they're not.
Can I ask Dr. Scher a question?
Sure.
So, if the Big Mac, you said it was just an estimate, but is the estimate correct in the fact that the Big Mac is more expensive than what they actually make an hour?
It's
Or
more
is-
expensive than,
Like, because you said 30 and then they only make 20. So, is that correct? Meaning that even though those numbers aren't correct, it's still correct that it costs more for the Big Mac than they make in 1 hour?
it costs more. I still don't quite understand your question.
So the Big Mac costs more money to buy one Big Mac than they make a whole hour of working. Correct.
Yes.
So that really happens. Like it costs
Yes.
more. So what is the comparison between $1 American to the Chinese
Yuan. It's right now the exchange rate is $1 is equal to 6.2 yuan.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any more comments?
I did have one. So like, it's kind of like a question, so is it basically saying that because like the exchange rates that we have now don't include like the goods that we don't, so like the non-traded goods, so you're basically gypping the other countries because if we included the non-traded goods, it would be lower.
Yeah, because it's like here, we have like local things, like when you go and you get your hair cut or when you have someone come and cut your lawn. Here, we have an idea in our mind of how much that will cost. Like if I had a house and some kid came over and said, hey, can I cut your lawn? I would say, yeah, you can. I'll give you like $10 to do it. But over there, in their minds, they don't have that sort of thing going on. They'd have a different number in their head for how much they would have a little kid come over to cut their lawn for.
Okay.
Any more comments before we get to the questions? Discussion question. Number 1. Assume you're going to take a trip to Paris. You buy euros at your local bank or at the airport. Then you start spending them once you're in Paris. Every time you buy something there, you explicitly or implicitly translate the euro price into dollars. Often you might say to yourself, how do Parisians afford such high prices? What is wrong with this line of reasoning? Hint, what currency do Parisians earn their income? Yes?
Well, if you were to do it that way, like, Parisians often, like, get higher wages just because the price of living is more expensive over there. And a lot of times, like, euros are even just a little bit higher than the American dollar. So if, like, something is $9.99, like, euros in Paris, then, you know, it's going to be, like, a little bit more expensive in dollars. So, like, you know, it's just, like, we just have a different idea of how much it is versus, like in comparison to what they make and how they spend their money.
Well, I don't think countries, like, you know, when you make whatever, you know, in your currency, like, you don't say, oh, I made, you know, $20 working. That compares to Paris or European countries or stuff like that. So, like, it's because it's our standard of living. So if you're gonna go over and visit a country, like, you can, sure, you're saying, oh, this is different, but like if you live there, you're not realizing there's a difference because you're not really worrying about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I hear this a lot when people hear about incomes in Canada, because incomes are quite high compared to here, and I think people, because the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, I'm not sure where they are right now, I don't keep track of it, but they can be actually very close.
1.33.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So they're usually like around the same. They're, you know, it can be very close. And so people think, oh, this, you know, if the dollar's the same, it means the same thing, then why are they're getting paid that much more? That must be a good thing. And they're not taking into account that taxes are higher and goods are higher. And so I think I've never, you know, thought about that, how to value that. But this is the same thing in Paris. Like, how do they afford such high prices? Or why do they get such a high income? Well, it's because they have to pay more, or it's because they earn more, they can pay more.
Yes.
I feel like another, like, it just depends on the price of living. Like, even in America, we have different prices of living. Like, California is way more expensive than where we live because they get paid more because of the price of living, and so that's how it is there. So we think it's more expensive, but to them, it's just the same as us buying a Big Mac because of our price of living is lower.
Any more comments?
So the traded goods that they're basing the exchange rates on, is that just like goods that are traded between nations? Like,
Goods that are tradable. Like,
oh, okay.
not like when I said a little boy could come over and cut my lawn. You're not gonna
Yeah,
send
that's
that boy
non-trade,
across the ocean to cut someone else's lawn. But like things that you can actually like move to somewhere else and do.
So that would be like, so if like Canada, like something that they could trade with us, like we would base our exchange rate based on like what we could trade with them. But Canada's exchange rate with England would be based on what their traded good is worth in it. So like, that's what it is.
I kind of get what you're saying.
Okay.
So the exchange rate only reflects the traded goods.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And then I'm gonna ask you a question. So between the prices of the traded good and non-traded good, which price tends to be lower? Comparing the price of the traded good and the price of the non-traded good, which goods price tend to be lower,
I would say
and why? Let's just say United States.
I kind of agree with them too, what they were saying about it being non-traded, because the non-traded good, if it's not traded like outwards, it was made here, so it costs more to make something here versus making it over there, where you'd have to make versus making it over there and have to bring it in through, and even though you'd have to pay tariffs on that to bring it back in here as what would that be, like an import?
Okay, so you're talking about traded goods or non-traded goods?
This is non-traded goods.
So you're saying that non-traded goods would be less expensive?
Okay, haircut service is a non-traded goods, right? It's non-traded goods. All right, so here costs at least, the place I go to $40-50 to get a haircut. Okay, when I go to China, the same kind of quality service, it charges me $15. Okay, the reason the haircut here remains that high, that service, because it's non-traded goods. There's no competition internationally. Chinese hairstylists cannot compete, with American hair stylists in the American market. Yeah, but for the other goods, which can be traded, then they can bring the competition in. The price can go down. So that's why the non-traded goods here tend to have a higher price. Especially when the price of labor is high here. Another interesting I want to tell you about is the prices. The price of goods in China. 20 years ago, the Chinese people who live in America would go back to China, load up the stuff, and bring back here, because the price of the goods are just so low. I've been here for 15 years. The first few years I was in America, I did that. Every time I went back to China, I would buy a lot of clothing and shoes and the stuff that I need daily. I bring those stuff here. But in the last 5 years, the trend has been reversed. Chinese people come to America to load that stuff and bring back. Because, the people's income in China has risen dramatically, and that brings the price up really, really high, especially the big brands. It's much, much cheaper here to buy, and then those big brands in China. Yeah, so this, there is a shift of the spending. Yeah.
So then I'm confused on what would happen if you incorporated, if you incorporated non-traded goods.
But you just can't.
You
You
can't.
just cannot.
Okay.
What you were saying about the non-traded goods being more expensive here, would that be the same for like everywhere else too? Or not everywhere else, say China, I guess.
No, non-traded goods in China, some of them. Okay, for example, yoga.
Mhm.
Okay, I think the price of yoga in the United States is really low compared to the yoga practice in the rest of the world. Okay, even in China, the price of, go to a yoga studio to have one-time yoga is a little bit higher than here. But,
Okay.
People's, wage is much lower, so that relatively much higher. So it depends on the goods. For some goods, and the non-traded goods price are high, but for some goods it's really low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more comments, questions? Number 2, why don't the local prices of restaurant meals, haircuts, and gardening services affect a country's exchange rate? Yes.
We just talked about that, right?
Yeah,
We
but
just talked about that.
Because they're non-traded.
Yeah.
If the same amount of materials and the same methods are used to produce Big Macs in over 120 countries, why are the prices of Big Macs not all the same expressed in dollars? Yes.
Simply because everyone's wage rate is different in each country, and the minimum wage here is probably higher than it is in another country, so things are going to inflate and deflate in different ways.
Adding on to that, also the cost of living and whatnot, it can be higher and lower in other places too, so that'll affect the price of the Big Mac too.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, that the standard of living is different everywhere. You wanna make money off of something, but at the same time, you don't wanna charge like a flat rate, because then in some places you're gonna get it to where people aren't gonna buy it because it's too expensive, and then in some places you're gonna get it, you won't be making that much because, or I guess you would be making the same thing if you charged a flat rate for it, but you're gonna lose some of your consumers.
I have a question because I wonder how they calculate the price of the Big Mac. Do
That's
they
a good
add
question.
tax or like
Like the price the price that it's gonna be in other countries, or just like the overall price?
In general, how the price is determined, that's
Yeah.
an important question to ask.
because in Canada they, for example, groceries are really expensive. There's a high cost of living in Canada compared to here, but fruit is insanely cheap, like way cheaper than it is here, because the government subsidizes because they want people to eat fruit. And you think it'd be higher because it's in Canada and it would be harder to get fruit because there's colder weather, but it's actually really cheap.
So
would
like
that
in
impact
Canada,
the Big
do they
Mac
import,
price?
they import their fruit?
Yeah.
So they
I mean,
import
most of it,
it,
yeah.
but like the cost of importing is also in the subsidized that's being put towards the
I don't know.
taxpayer.
I don't know the exact details. I just
Yeah.
know fruit is extremely cheap in Canada. So, like, they would, a Big Mac. Could the country make it more expensive because it's unhealthy, or how do they take that into account? Okay.
Fun fact about our apples that we that they sell here, the apples that you eat this year are actually last year's apples, or a good portion of them are anyway. Did you know that? It just reminded me of that. I learned that today. I had to tell somebody. It just amazed me.
So how the price is determined? To go back to this question, you mentioned about, taking into account of the affordability of the people there. But really, when a firm determine the price, what are they going to look at it?
You have to,
How many
you have
people?
to pay for the ingredients.
The cost of the ingredients. So if this Big Mac is made in China, and the ingredients are more likely to be bought in China, and if the wage rate is cheaper there, then the ingredients tend to have lower price. So that's translate into the price. No.
Wouldn't you also have to look at like how many people are going, like how many customers you're gonna have
demand.
buying? Yeah, like
The
the demand.
demand.
Cause like
Well, guess what? Before the McDonald's went to all those developing countries, they did not know what the demand would be like. They just bombed with marketing, but it was successful. But for the demand, you never know until when the product
So
is at launch.
if McDonald's like had put branches in like India
Mhm.
and they found that the demand wasn't as high for it, wouldn't they then decrease the price?
They would not. I wouldn't think they're going to decrease the price. They're probably going to close it. down.
Close it.
Close it. Yeah.
What about where there would be more competition for like other alternative Big Macs?
Like Burger King.
Yeah, and Wendy's.
Burger
And
King,
like
yes.
in the US, we have a lot of competition.
That's right. Actually, in China, there was a lot of competition among those chains. Within a community, you have McDonald's, you have Burger King, you have Wendy, you have Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have all that stuff, and the sale did go down quite a bit,
So that would be like
but the
like,
price remained the same.
So
Price.
that wouldn't influence.
That
But-
will not influence.
but that's like so like 10 years ago in Wales there was like no McDonald's, like
Mhm.
no Burger King, none of that. And their portions are smaller, but they weren't as expensive. And so, but then I go back last summer and there's McDonald's everywhere. They've got Subway, they've got everything, and those prices have increased.
Mhm.
So that would mean, so like before, they didn't have
How
any
much?
competition.
How much the price has been increased? What's the percentage? Do you know?
There, it was like, but for like the conversion from
Mm-hmm.
American to pounds, it was like a burger was like maybe five or 6 pounds.
Mhm.
Like when I went back there, like when I went back this past summer, and like to begin with, it might have been like 4 pounds, maybe like 3.5.
Mhm.
So, but like that's in the beginning, there wasn't any competition, and it was relatively new, so the prices they weren't like low, but they were cheaper. But then once I go back and they're everywhere,
And
it
the
was
price
more
is higher.
expensive. Yeah, it was more expensive.
But it is actually.
Well, I would think it would be the other way around.
Yes. Okay, so what do you think the reason?
The only thing I can think of is that it was like when I went back there, it was a lot more American. So like regardless of the fact like 10 years ago, like they didn't have all that stuff, and so no one really like cared about it because they had their own way of life, and so like the American fast food chains like wasn't really a part of that way of life.
I see.
So not a lot of people use it anyway. But going back a few months ago, everyone has adapted to that American
So
fast
demand
food
is
chain.
higher.
So the demand for that
So
would
that
be higher.
kind of jack up the price.
Okay.
Right.
And also the cost would play a role if
Could
if
be.
they're all,
Yeah, if the economy grows, the wage rate grows, the price, everything grows, it probably contribute to that a little bit too. Yeah.
I have a question. Like, since you're talking about the Big Mac, is the Big Mac like the same everywhere? Like, you know how like
It's
like,
not
Because
the
you have
same.
variability in
the taste.
ingredients.
I mean, they have basic standard, what should be included. I'm telling you, the food use Kentucky Fried Chicken. Okay, when I was in China, I loved the Kentucky Fried Chicken, but here I hate it. You know, it's tastes totally different.
So basically, like the ingredients that they use are probably from.
Yeah, they're
Where
from
they
local. And
are.
also they tweak it. You know, they make it adjust to the local palate. For example, Kentucky Fried Chicken in China serves soup. They have soup on the side, you know.
Yeah.
And here, there's just, you know, has a corn stuff. You know, it was kind of neat, you know. And so it's they tweak a little bit, yeah.
Well, that's like because like in England, like when I would eat their burgers, like this might just be me talking, but like the way they raise their animals is like so much more healthier. So like 10 years ago when I would eat that burger, it was really good. But when I went back the last time, it didn't taste so great because they're reducing like the amount of pastures that they have for their livestock, and they're becoming more industrialized, and in a lot of senses they're becoming a lot more like America. So their food tasted a lot more like America, which is a little upsetting. But
In Canada, McDonald's has like this healthy campaign, and so you can look on the internet. There's all kinds of like, this is why McDonald's is healthy, and they have like, they serve subs, and I don't know if this is actually a fact, but it seems like their burgers are less greasy because I do not.
yeah,
like
that's
Big
how
Mac
it was
down here.
to begin with. Like
So-
it was so much more healthier, but as they moved, like they are moving towards the trend of becoming more like us, which isn't necessarily good, but it sounds like Canada
Canada's like
is
So
trying to
maybe
make
it costs more because like here in America we have such big portions of everything, and then there's a lot more like ingredients and stuff like that in everything. You know what I'm saying?
Lot more ingredients? I wouldn't say
Not
lots more ingredients.
Not more, but a lot more of like more Big Mac sauce. And more.
Both big and
And it's like you were saying, you know, it's
I know the sauce different. In Canada, the fries come with the vinegar, and here it's the ketchup. Yeah.
We still like ketchup, but
But it's like
we have
you'll
vinegar
have
too.
with-
But like,
Yeah.
if the
We like
cost of
vinegar.
your, so like in England, if like at first they were making, if they're putting all this effort into their livestock that's gonna go into their beef, so they're allowing them to be roam free and they're raised longer, versus in America if they're confined to small spaces and slaughtered quickly, that's gonna reduce the cost of your ingredients.
Yeah.
And that way, that would be like the fluctuation.
And it's like she was saying, like it's to each person's palate, I guess you could say. And I know even like Southern food and Northern like food are totally different. Like
Yeah.
Southern food is a lot sweeter,
Yeah.
a lot greasier, a lot fattier than up in the North. And if you think about it, like people's palates are different in that way too.
I wonder
And
I wonder if McDonald's has it like I know they're quite specific, and it actually we talked about
Yeah,
that.
they said that they have.
But like, I don't know if it's just different restaurants or like McDonald's when they had that artisan burger.
Mm-hmm.
The McDonald's in Michigan, I loved that burger, and then I came back down here and tried it, and it was just like, ew. I don't know. I tried it a couple places,
I
and I
know
did
a lot
not
of
like.
places they're trying to be more local and like support local farmers and that kind of thing. And that could also be part of it.
And like, kind of switching real quick. Not only do like the ingredients change depending on where you, well, not necessarily the ingredients, but just like the taste of the ingredients change. So like if you were to eat a burger in France, it's kind of what I'm judging by. And like French ketchup is disgusting. Like it's really, really gross. But and so like, so not only does that change, but the menu in France is really different. I mean, like you have like your Big Mac, you have chicken nuggets, you have like a couple, like 4 or 5, like just standards. But a lot of McDonald's in France have like more French food. I mean, it's kind of strange because it's like Americanized French food.
Because if you took the American menu and you plopped it in France,
They would hate it. Like they
Yeah.
hate American food.
it wouldn't go over very well, and then you wouldn't sell a lot, and so that wouldn't work.
And like they also have like a lot more variety too. Like they had like potato wedges at this one place, and it was like the best potato wedges I've ever had in my entire life. But so I don't know. I think a big part of I don't know where I was going.
I kind of have two things to say. One was about how like the animals are fed differently. Like in America, I know they are fed like I think they are corn fed now,
Yeah.
and so like that's like not. And our food's fattier first off, so it's gonna be greasier. And second off, like I'm from Georgia, and here the barbecue is made with vinegar, and in Georgia it's made with like barbecue sauce. So like the tastes are different, even like 2 states away. Like it's depends on where you live and like your taste. What she was saying.
It also has to do with the way they process and handle their food, because here McDonald's gets like 50,000 frozen burgers, and they may not do that like in France. I mean, they may not be freezing and heating up the way we do.
So how do we like judge? I guess they have studied it and decided that Big Mac is a good even comparison.
Yes.
But there is difference, like, so is there a
Variability.
margin of error there, or?
Oh, yes, definitely. And just collecting data, this one task is going to have a lot of error in it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a question here. Okay, so the book mentioned that, the reason we use this Big Mac index is we can use that to understand the productivity in a different country. So I want to ask you about this question. So does it mean that, okay, in China, it's 0.67, okay, max. In America, Western Europe, and Japan is about 2 or 3 max. So does it mean that people in developing countries who work in McDonald's, they're less productive? So how do we understand this concept here? This Big Mac index represent the level of productivity.
So
Do you guys see that's in the,
I don't
did I say that sentence?
I don't
Okay.
see like how the
The page-
productivity.
So
Yeah.
Page 205, you see that?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not understanding how the so like that on the board. I feel like that's like the wage divided by the price of the Big Mac. So if your wage was so is that saying that like workers in China are not like as productive as workers in America because they're getting paid for?
That's what I'm asking you guys. So what the book says, okay, this measure is measurement of productivity. What do they mean by that? Do they mean the productivity of those workers working McDonald's?
No. The productivity of the economy.
The overall,
Yeah.
the overall. Yeah. And what one of the most important contributing factor toward productivity? Standard living will actually is a consequence of the productivity. So does not cause productivity, cause the standard living.
Does it
Maybe the
have
demand?
anything to do with GPD or GPD?
You talk about GDP,
Yeah, like the real GPD or?
GDP.
Yeah, GDP. Yeah, that right there.
And the growth of the economy, GDP measures the growth of the economy, gross domestic product, and which is very correlated to productivity. Still, I want you to think deeper. So what is the thing that really contribute to the productivity?
Efficiency?
Okay, efficiency, you talk about economic structure, economic system, okay, that's has a lot of, to do with that. And what else?
Labor and technology?
I would say technology is probably one of the most crucial elements that contribute to the productivity. Right,
So okay, cause so like the
Yeah.
technology in India
That's
wouldn't
right.
be up to the technology in
That's right,
the US.
so it's not workers, not efficient, workers lazy, it's not. Is because the better technology, each labor unit is able to produce much more.
Well, it's like we have the power to mass produce real quickly.
That's right.
And then I was looking at some of these countries like Malaysia, or the Philippines, India, all, they don't have that technology, so that's why, so you can.
That's right. If you go to the southern part of China, people still use hand to pick up the teas from the tea trees. Just think about how much tea they can collect within a day.
And we have huge machines that
Yeah,
just go
to
through
just
and
go
just,
through and
Yeah.
grab all this. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's something I want to mention here. Continue.
Is there anything that a Big Mac preparer in a developing country can do to earn a higher real wage rate?
Basically, no. Because
Preparer. Okay, so Big Mac preparer.
prepare, so not the individual worker.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
yeah, someone who
It's like the
prepares.
person
So is
sitting at
it-
the counter, like putting the Big Mac together. Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, okay.
Not
No.
as a
The
Big Mac
McDonald's
preparer.
employee.
Right.
They would have to do something else.
No.
You can't change
And then
them.
he gets if he gets he can get a raise, but that's about
Try to get
it.
promotion, that's about it.
Yeah, well, but if he got a raise, he's probably being promoted, so therefore he wouldn't be a Big Mac preparer.
No, but if he puts out more Big Macs than any other Big Mac preparer, that would increase. But that increases the.
But does technology have to do with also training? Like, could he actually learn how to, put it together faster? Like, it's part of our technology that makes
Or
us
even,
more
like, put
productive,
sauce on it, like.
being, being really well trained, like machine trained. I don't know if we're machine trained or not. I don't know. But could he
So
could
it
he get faster?
does say
at it?
a better technique. So it does say a developing country. So if they develop a better technique.
Well, if they develop a better technique, then more people might be getting them. Like, if it was really slow to get a Big Mac before, you probably wouldn't do it. But then if you went and it only took 2 minutes to get your Big Mac, more people would buy it. So then maybe you would get a higher wage.
But it's not really a direct thing. That's kind of
Yeah,
like
that's
a really random.
That's what I'm saying. So if it's just him who's doing it, I'm not understanding of whether this question wants it to help out just this one Big Mac preparer or the whole.
Just
Yeah.
this guy.
This question is actually, I think the author wrote this question for a different purpose, but it's kind of tricky. So basically, I think what they're trying to ask you is how do you think an individual who works in the McDonald's can really change the wage rate that is actually determined in the market by the supply and demand? Okay. Yes, this person can work at home every evening, work out like you mentioned, but and to make him more and more employable than other people. But guess what? Once that you mention is out, it's going to be employed by all other McDonald's, and again, market is going to reach another equilibrium point, with the rate rate. So really, this is a market with, we call it kind of very close to perfect competitive market, because you have a lot of people who like to work there. You have a lot of people who want to demand, the food from there. So really the wage rate is determined in the market. No individual really has that kind of power to change it.
Sorry,
But you,
Any more comments?
I don't see that.
but it's really, I don't think the question is really phrased that well.
Yeah.
Why does McDonald's provide a 600-page manual to the company's franchise in every country? Hint, what are the ways that a franchise can monitor quality of its franchisees?
Yes.
Because each company cannot physically send representatives to monitor the productions of the franchise on a daily basis.
Can you say that again? Not you. No. I didn't
Because each company cannot physically send representatives to monitor the productions of the franchise on a daily basis.
So is that why they send the 600-page manual? Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's pretty much a set of guidelines. That way they don't have to send people out to check every like month or so.
That and you're like a company, so like you can't have like each of your little people doing something different. So, I mean, by sending that out, they do that, but I'm not.
But they still have to enforce it, don't they?
Yeah, because I mean, you
they
can
still definitely send out
that.
representatives, like they're
But
still
less
doing
than
that.
they would if they.
They wouldn't have to like individually train, like that, this creates a set standard, I guess.
It's like the secret shoppers in like Walmart and grocery stores.
Undercover boss. That's
Oh.
the show.
I would think of it as like how you have the health department come every once in a while to check out, like to see if you're up to standards. Like everyone knows the standards of the health department, but it's not like they come to your place of business every week. They just do checkups. So I would think of it like that. Like everyone involved in the McDonald's franchise knows the rules based on this 600-page manual, but McDonald's still sends out representatives every once in a while to check them.
Maybe they measure quality by customer feedback too, instead of just sending representatives.
Yeah, but that would be based on like personal taste though. in each
Right.
country. I wonder how much it varies, cause it says to in every country, so I guess each one is different, like each country has a different 600-page manual.
Right, and I mean, because if you're gonna have a franchise, then like each little store or each little restaurant has to abide by the franchise rules. And so the franchise, they're the, they've got all the money. And, I mean, it's all the money's going to the McDonald's and the owners, the CEOs. And so they have, I don't even know, they have thousands and thousands and thousands of McDonald's just in America. And so when you make that worldwide, it's very easy for maybe one franchise to kind of be doing or one restaurant in the franchise to be doing something like, oh, well, we're gonna pay higher wages. The owner's gonna make more of that restaurant. And there's gotta be some regulation. So a 600-page manual, I'm pretty sure the owner of the singular restaurant probably isn't reading that, but it's there for regulation's sake.
When I think of the 600-page manual, I'm thinking like it's a big book and it's telling them what they can change and what they can't change. Because like all the McDonald's, they're basically all the same, but like in a different country, it might say, all right, you have to keep most of the things the same, but you're not gonna get in trouble if you put some pepper on something or if you changed a little bit of this flavor. That's all right, as long as basically all these things are met. You can change this, this, and this, but not like all these other things.
Okay.
In 2014, there were 14,339 McDonald's in the United States.
14,000.
How many?
14,339.
I'd imagine there'd be more.
That's just in America.
There's
though.
1,440 in Canada.
The amount?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They actually have like 2012, 2013, and 2014.
In a wealthy country, wages are not only high in the traded goods and services sector, but they are also high in the non-traded goods and services sector. Why? Hint, are there two separate labor markets or just one?
I think there would have to be a balance, because if one sector's wages are higher, then the more skilled workers would go to that sector, and then the other sector would have nothing but like unskilled workers, and then that would like decrease their productivity, and it just wouldn't be efficient, and it just wouldn't have any good use. So I think there would have to be that's why there's a balance in both of the sectors of the traded and non-traded goods.
Were you saying that the traded goods were high and the non-traded goods were low?
No, I was saying it says that both of them.
Yeah, both of them are.
Okay, I was saying that there would be a balance, because if it wasn't balanced out and one was higher and the other one was low, then unskilled workers would just go to the higher wages sector and leave the other one where there wouldn't be any.
So you're saying there's skilled workers in both?
So, what about in non-wealthy countries? Is it the is
Would it be the
Is
same
there-
that
is
like
there a
traded
balance
goods
in
are lows
non-represented?
and non-traded goods are low too?
or would one be higher?
I know, you kind of have to think on the idea of what we were talking about earlier, like non-traded goods, like there's, the only place you're gonna get those goods are in the place they originate from because there's no trading it across the borders. So, you gotta think that's gonna, you gotta think about that too.
So in a developing country, it will be reversed. The traded goods price can be higher than the non-traded goods. Yeah, can be reversed. But I want you to, I mean, in that bracket it says two separate labor market or just one. I want you to, think about what do they mean, why the author put that there. How that relate to this question.
That almost have to be two different labor markets because you'd need two completely different types of skill sets for that because the non-traded goods, that'd be more like along the lines of services, like you said, get your hair cut, and the tradable goods would be like products like TVs and food and stuff like this.
So yes, the labor market is different, but what is the difference? What is the difference? In the non-traded goods labor market, what is the pool of the laborers? And in the traded goods market, what is the pool of the laborers? Let's just say in America.
Are you talking like service? Or are you talking about like?
It can be anything. Let's just say, you guys name one non-traded goods. Just name one non-traded goods.
Okay, so
Hairstyles.
yeah.
Okay, so what is the labor supply? What's the pool of the labor supply? You know what I'm talking about?
Hairstylists.
The American hairstylist here, right? In this country, physically in this country, right?
Oh, and then
But-
non-traded are.
Yeah, but if we talk about a traded goods that, we get from other countries or we ship to the other countries, then the labor pool, the pool of labor can be the pool can be the people physically in America or can be
Somewhere else.
somebody in everywhere else. Okay, so the pool is larger. So the labor supply is much bigger. You see? So that's why, when you have a large labor supply, based on the demand and supply, then the price of labor is gonna go down.
Lower.
So that's the difference, the pool of labor is different.
Makes sense.
So why are they both high in this case?
Why is it both high?
That's a-
No. It's in a wealthy country, the price of traded goods tend to be lower than the price of non-traded goods.
But that
But
says,
this says that they're high in
They're
the
also-
traded goods and high in the untraded goods.
Okay, hold on. They're not only high in the traded goods and the service sector, but they're also high in the non-traded goods and the service sector. Okay, so the second part we know, and so the wages. Okay, so basically they are saying, okay, it is high in the traded goods because of the wage rate is high in this country. So when they compete internationally, they have less disadvantage. So the price is high, And so it's more likely we're going to use a product from the developing country than the product that made here because the price of labor here is high. So that's what it meant, yeah. So for the traded goods like clothing, just use clothing. It's
So
traded goods.
they're saying they're buying, so they're trading with other companies and what they buy
Other
from the other
countries.
countries is higher. So they're buying from other countries because the price
Because
domestic is.
that's right. The
Okay.
price of the traded goods made here is
Is higher.
higher than
Oh, okay.
the price of traded goods made somewhere else.
Gotcha.
That's the last question. Are there any comments or questions now that people would like to talk about?
Has everyone talked today?
I think so, actually.
Has everyone?
Well, not everyone's here, but yeah.
I have one question. Remember we were talking about that on the board?
Index?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You said like that's I guess you could compare that with the productivity of the country, I guess, of the.
We use that to kind of measure the productivity of the different nations, yeah.
Okay, but so basically, the lower it is, the lower the productivity because of less technology.
Yeah, ultimately due to the less technology, yeah.
Okay.
So basically it tells you, what can you afford with your hourly wage.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can afford only 2/3 of Mac by working 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's not much. Other questions, guys? Okay, so we have 2 more presentation to go. Okay, so next Tuesday, you guys going to present, right? And
Chapter 11.
on which one?
Chapter 11.
Chapter 11, which is I think the women's wage, right? Why women pay less? Okay. And the very last one is Sarah and Anthony. And you guys, if you guys have any idea you want to present, you can let me know, or we can just do 13 chapters if you want. Okay? Yeah, we'll let you know. Okay, so I want to mention about the final paper. By now, you really should have an idea what you want to write. Okay, you really should start working on it. I know the next week is Thanksgiving. We're all going to have a little bit relaxing time, but find some time to work on the paper. Because if you want to turn in class, you have to turn in the last day of class, and which is 2 weeks from today.
I know.
2 weeks from today, right? Okay, so if you can turn in then, that would be great. Then you don't have to worry about the finals week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we email you like a rough draft?
Yes, please. I encourage you to do that and email me the rough draft so I can give you comments. And I also want to mention, somebody asked me about, asked me about the citation. This is a very important part of paper because this will train you to write paper, a professional paper in the future. So anything you find online, I think majority, 90% of things you found online will have the title of the article, will have the author, will have the journal name, right? And also the date and the volume stuff, page number. Okay, so as long as they have those things, and you're going to follow what the end of books, the citation at the end of book, on page, turn to page 228. That's selected references. Okay, so you see how the book cited those. That's the way you're going to cite, all those. So once a while, you're going to find something that is not a real article, and this does not come from a journal. Then you will provide link, and with a little description. Okay, but majority of the resource you're going to use, and you're going to cite the way you cite.
So do you want like MLA format, like in-text citation?
Yes, I want to. Actually, APA.
And should there be parentheticals like inside?
Yes, so when you write articles, you're going to cite somebody says, right? So what you're going to do is, okay, so for example, Katzman Sam, okay, this is the first article. Katzman Sam has mentioned, you said Katzman has mentioned, then next to Katzman, next to the last name of this person, you put the year. You put the year of that article.
So it'd be Katzman and then the year?
Katzman and the year, and year is in the bracket.
Okay, alright.
Okay, so Katzman is in the sentence you're writing, but then after last name, you put a bracket, you put year there. Okay, and then you can do. So for everything is from a source, you got to cite it. Because if you don't cite, that's plagiarism. It's very serious. So I don't mind you have a lot of citation, but everything you're going to cite, you have to cite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a specific number of sources that we have to have?
No, there's no,
How many pages again?
did I
It said 5 to 7.
5 to 7. 5 to 7. Did I say single
Double
space,
spaced.
double spaced? Okay. So it's really not that.
Fetal research anatomy.
It's double spaced.
It's like, I'm really,
And I haven't had to
really
write
like the topic, it's
anything.
just like getting like thoughts on it.
My teachers in middle school used to be like
So
2
please-
pages. Middle science.
Please remain your seat because I have not, take your attendance yet. So I do not. Corinne is here. Samantha here. Jacob is here. Lisa is here. Catherine's here. Helen, Elizabeth.
I'm so done.
Sarah is here. Sarah is here. Kiana here. Olivia, Blaine, Carly, Kristen. Anna is not here. Her's not here. Jada is here. All right. Thank you, guys.
We need to leave.
I don't know.
I can't. I'm gonna be home at this.